Okay, welcome to the Fantastic Four Retirement Savings Plans webinar. My name is Corey Cox. I'm part of the education team here at URS. And I have here with me Don Dockenhausen, one of our retirement planning advisors here at the retirement office. Just a few housekeeping items to be aware of. We want to ensure that you remain engaged in the presentation today. So we've provided a couple of tools for you that will help ensure you can understand the benefits available to you. On the bottom right hand of your side of your screen, we have attached the files that refer to the different savings plans that we offer here at URS, and we will be talking about each of these. These handouts will be beneficial to you as a reference throughout the presentation. Of note, please be sure to download the Investment Options 2017 brochure, as I know Don will be referring to that during the presentation today. The other files pertaining to the retirement savings plans, such as the IRA guidebook, the 457 summary plan, 401k summary plan descriptions, and the savings plan transfer to URS form, are good to have, so you can refer to those after the presentation. We'd love your participation throughout this session today. If you have any questions, the top right-hand corner of your screen there is the Q&A section, and we have people here to help answer any of your questions that you might have that come up throughout the presentation, so don't hesitate to ask those questions. Also, we'll be asking some questions of our own to make sure you're paying attention. Please participate in these questions as they help us gauge who is with us today and your level of understanding of the concepts that are going to be talked about. With that being said, let me introduce you to Dawn Dockenhausen, one of URS's retirement planning advisors. She truly is a wonder woman and is a great resource to help you combat the despair of not being prepared for retirement. Her arch nemesis are retirement plans with high fees, and she's helped people avoid these enemies for about 15 years now in assisting individuals plan a secure way to save for retirement. Look, it's a bird, it's a plane, it's Dawn Dockenhausen. So Dawn, you're up.
All right. Well, I have to say I wasn't quite sure what the introduction was going to be from Corey, but I guess today I'm Wonder Woman. So let's go ahead with our Fantastic Four retirement plans. Welcome to our webinar today. As Corey mentioned, we're going to be talking about the 4 different savings plans that URS offers to our members. And these are plans that you can participate in and contribute to help supplement any other retirement benefits that your employer may offer, so that in retirement you have this great resource to use for your retirement income needs. So we have a poll question. You can see that on your screen. So here's the poll question, just to get started. In which savings plans do you currently participate? So you can select all that apply just to get a feel here, and you can see those results there. Looks like we have a lot of participation in the 401k as well as the Roth IRA, but we do have some participation in all of the plans. So thank you for answering that question. Okay, so here's our Fantastic Four plans. First we have Fabulous 401k, and then we have Magnificent 457. Next is Awesome Traditional IRA. And last but not least, we have Amazing Roth IRA. So we're going to highlight some of the characteristics of each plan. And if you have downloaded the Investment Options 2017 brochure, these are going to be on page 3. That's the page that we're going to focus on today from this brochure. So in no particular order, not that any plan's better than the other, but we're going to start with our Fabulous 401k. So one of the things that we like to highlight about the 401k is that it does have a high contribution limit. So if you are looking to sock a whole lot of money away for retirement, the 401k is one of those plans that you can put a whole lot of money away. If you're under age 50, the contribution limit for 2017 is $18,000 a year. If you're over age 50, the annual limit this year is $24,000. Now the IRS sets these limits, and They may change for 2018. We're not quite sure yet if they're going to change. So you may want to, if you're getting close to maxing out the limit, you may want to check each year and see if that has changed. One of the other great things about the 401k is that it is tax deductible. So what this means is that you get to take the contribution that you make to the 401k and you get to deduct it from your gross income so that you theoretically would pay less in taxes based on the contribution that you made for that year. So let me give you an example. Let's say you're making $40,000 and you decided you wanted to save 10% of your income to retirement, so you're going to put $4,000 into your 401k. And just keeping it really simple, assuming no other deductions or write-offs, when you get your W-2, it would say $36,000 instead of $40,000. So you get to take that $4,000 and deduct it from your income so that when you go to file your taxes, you're starting with less than your gross. One of the other great things about the 401k, and not that we are necessarily endorsing or encouraging this, but that if needed, you can take a loan on vested amounts. You can borrow up to 50% of your vested balance up to $50,000. Obviously, loans have to be paid back, but that is an option that is not available on the IRA plans. One of the great things with the 401k is that there is a possible withdrawal. It looks like that might be showing up kind of funny in the bubble there, but that is possible withdrawal. That L is on the third line instead of the second line at age 55. So this is really unique. Since the IRS is giving some tax advantages to all of these plans, they are the ones that set the rules as to the age that they deem the age that you can access the money without a penalty. And for most plans, including the IRA, that is typically 59 and a half. And if you take money out before this age, you get a 10% penalty in addition to the income taxes that would be due. However, the 401k has a unique exception to this rule, and that is that at age 55, well, it's actually if you work into the year that you would turn age 55 with that employer for that specific employer's 401k, you can actually take withdrawals without the penalty between age 55 and 59 and a half if you were to leave employment. So that is an exception that is unique to the 401k that the other plans that we're going to talk about today do not have. Okay, moving on to our magnificent 457 plan. The 457 plan and the 401k do have a lot of similarities, but one thing to note is that the 457 plans are typically for government and nonprofit employers. So you may be really familiar with 401k plans, and if you haven't spent much time in public employment, 457 plans may be a newer plan that you might not have heard of. But the reason why you have a 457 plan is because you're working for a government agency that participates in this plan. But if you were to go work for a private corporation, you might have a 401k plan, but you wouldn't be able to have the 457 plan. So the 457 plan has the same contribution limit as the 401k, very high limit, $18,000 this year if you're under age 50 and $24,000 this year if you're over age 50, so similar to the 401k. It is also tax deductible, just like the 401k. Same example, you make $40,000, you decide to put 10% towards retirement and you choose the 457 plan. Your gross income gets to be reduced by that $4,000, so now you're starting with $36,000 when you start to file your taxes. The 457, another similarity with the 401k, also has the loan provision. And if you have a 457 and a 401k, you can actually take a loan from each plan. Again, since this is National Retirement Security Week, we're not encouraging to borrow against your retirement. We're encouraging you to save, but just know that that is a provision on the 457 plan as well. And when we talk about the IRA plans in a minute, loan provisions are not allowed on IRAs. Here's what makes the 457 really, really unique. And that is that it doesn't matter what age, you can take withdrawals from your 457 plan as long as you have separated from service from that employer. So you could take a withdrawal in your 30s or 40s or early 50s. You don't have to wait till the 59 and a half age that you have with the other plans. However, you do have to be separated from employment. And since the URS 457 plan is the same for all URS employers, you would actually have to separate from service from all URS employers while taking withdrawals. So this is a great plan for many of our public safety officers and firefighters who may have a retirement plan that they can access or a pension that they can have access to in their 40s or early 50s, but even public employees who may be retiring from employment if you're retiring in your early 50s and you want access to your savings without a penalty and don't want to work into the year that you turn 55 or work until age 59 and a half. So that's what makes the 457 unique from any of the other plans that we're going to talk about today. Okay, moving on to the IRA plans. So one thing to keep in mind with IRAs is that they do not have to be sponsored by your employer like the 457 and the 401k plans do. In other words, even though URS offers these plans as a convenient way to contribute through payroll deduction, you can actually go to any financial institution to open up an IRA, a bank or a credit union. You can't go to a bank or a credit union and open up a 401k or a 457 plan. You can only get those if your employer sponsors them, and the only way to get money into those plans or new money into those plans is through payroll deduction. So IRAs are a little different in that aspect, is that they do not have to be sponsored by your employer, but it sure is convenient if you want to participate in these plans and your URS employer offers them, that you certainly can do payroll deduction to these plans. The IRA plans do have lower contribution limits, much lower. You'll see there on your screen, if you're under age 50, the annual limit is $5,500, and if you're over age 50, the annual limit is $6,500. And just like the 401k and the 457, your contribution is tax deductible. So, same example, if you make $40,000 and you put $4,000 into your traditional IRA, your gross income is adjusted in this example to 36, so you'd be paying less in taxes based on that contribution. One thing to note is that, and this is that little asterisk that's there on your screen, is that the IRA contribution limit represents the amount across all of your traditional and Roth IRAs. So if you're under age 50, for example, and you put $5,500 into your traditional IRA at URS, you cannot put another $5,500 into any IRA anywhere else, Roth or traditional. So that's a combined limit among all IRAs, no matter who the custodian or who the holder of the plan is, and it does not matter if it's between a traditional and a Roth IRA, that's a combined limit. And then, of course, the $6,500 combined limit if you're over age 50. Okay, time for another poll question. So if you'll look at that poll question, the poll question is, who determines the annual contribution limits for your savings plan? So if you want to give you a second here to vote. Well, we have some very smart participants today. The IRS is the correct answer. So the IRS is the institution that sets these limits, and every year they can either increase those or keep them the same. One thing to note is that the limits that we currently have for IRAs, 401ks, 457s, they've actually been the same for 3 years now. So might be a good time for them to raise them, but I'm not quite sure yet. If they do increase them, they typically increase them, or at least in the past, they've increased them in $500 to $1,000 increments. Okay, here's something that is unique about the traditional IRA, different from the other two plans that we've talked about. When the money comes out of the 457, 401k, and traditional IRA, it is taxable. And the IRS mandates that there is a set withholding on 401k and 457 plans. However, on the traditional IRA, there is still taxes due, but you can choose if you want to have the taxes withheld ahead of time or not. And so that is one thing that's unique for the traditional IRA withdrawals. You will still end up paying the same amount in taxes, whether you have it withheld when you take your withdrawal or whether you pay it when you file your taxes. But that is something that's unique, that if you want to have a little bit more control over how much is withheld, you can do that with a traditional IRA. On the 457 and the 401k plans, the IRS mandates that there is 20% withheld on the withdrawal. However, if it was too much, you'd get some of that back, or if it wasn't enough, you may end up owing when you file your taxes. Here's another thing that's unique for the traditional IRA. You can make personal deposits. So unlike the 401k and the 457 plan, where you have to get money through a payroll deduction, if you get a tax refund or you get a little inheritance or you have some extra income and you want to write a personal check to your traditional IRA and don't want to have to contribute through a payroll deduction, you actually can write a check to your IRA. You can do payroll deduction throughout the year, but if you want to make a larger contribution one time or several times during the year, you can also do that. Okay, moving on to the Roth IRA. So the Roth IRA has some of the similar characteristics that the traditional IRA does, but it definitely is different tax-wise. So here is the similarity that the Roth IRA has to the traditional IRA. Same contribution limits, $5,500 this year if you're under age 50, $6,500 if you're over age 50, but that's about where the similarities end. Deposits made to the Roth, whether it's through payroll deduction or if you make a personal deposit, it is after tax. So let me give you an example. Let's use that same example. You're making $40,000. You decide you want to contribute 10% of your income or $4,000 to your Roth. When you go to file your taxes, you're not going to be able to take that $4,000 and write it off your income. So your starting income in this very simple example would still be $40,000. So it's not going to save you in taxes today. However, there are no minimum distributions at age 70 and a half on the Roth because that income that it is hopefully earning over the years that you have this Roth IRA is tax-free. This is what makes the Roth IRA unique, different from the traditional IRA and the 401k and the 457 plan. So the way that the Roth IRA benefits you the most is obviously the longer you can have that Roth IRA continuing to grow to get tax-free growth, the the more that can potentially benefit you. I wouldn't say that there's necessarily too late to start a Roth IRA, but one thing to keep in mind is that the distributions, in order to have those distributions be tax-free, you do have to be over age 59 and a half, and you do have to have the account open for at least 5 years. But again, since the money is coming out tax-free, since you already paid on the contribution by not writing it off when you made that contribution, and the earnings come out tax-free, you will never be required to take minimum distributions out like you would with your traditional IRA, your 401k, or your 457 plan. So, which one is right for you? Well, that depends. Some of the things that you may want to consider is, when do you want access to the money? When do you want to pay the taxes? Do you want to pay the taxes now, or do you want to pay the taxes later when you take withdrawals? How much do you want to save? Do you want to save more than the IRS allows you to save? When do you want access to the money? Do you want access to the money in your 30s or 40s, or are you not planning on touching this money until your 60s or 70s, or do you plan on passing this money on to your dependents and not using this money? So there's not one plan that's necessarily better or right or wrong. They're just different in the amount you can contribute, when you have access to them, what the exceptions to those rules are, how they're treated tax-wise. Okay, time for our last poll question. So, poll question, there's no right or wrong answer here. Do you feel like you are participating in the best retirement plan for your current and projected situation? Yes, no, or I don't know. Okay, so hopefully we've given you some things today to think about in regards to these different options that you have. We haven't talked about the investment options that you have inside of each of these plans, and I would encourage you, if you would like to participate in the webinar on Thursday, it's called Cooking with Mikey, Making Investment Salsa. He's actually going to talk about the different investment options that you have inside of each of these plans. So what we've talked about today are the rules as far as how they're treated tax-wise and how much you can contribute and when you can have access to it. But if you want to understand the investment options that URS offers, Mike Coakley, my coworker, is going to talk about that at another 30-minute webinar on Thursday at noon. And you can sign up on our website. If you go to urs.org, click on Education, and then click on Webinars, you'll see that webinar. So this is just a summary of those 4 plans that we've talked about today. The first three are all treated tax-wise. Anything that you contribute goes in pre-tax, meaning you get to write it off your gross income. As it's earning, hopefully earning money over the years that you have this retirement plan, that money grows tax deferred. In fact, all four of these grow tax deferred. And what that means is that you do not have to claim the growth each year as your account is earning money, depending on the investment choice that you select. And then as you take withdrawals sometime down the road in retirement, the first three, whatever you take out, the original contribution plus the growth, that will be taxable. The Roth is the opposite. Anything you put into the Roth, you do not get to write off your income the year that you make that contribution. Still grows tax deferred like the other three, meaning that each year that it's earning in the account, you don't have to claim that as income. And then the Roth, those earnings will come out tax free. And since you already paid on the contribution years before, you do not have to repay on that original contribution. So the contribution will be taxed in any of the four plans, either on the back end with the first three or up front on the Roth. It's the growth that is tax-free in the Roth and that is taxable in the other three. Okay, if you are interested in checking on your accounts, if you already have these, or in participating, if you have not signed up for any of these plans, you can go to urs.org and log into your account. And on your home page, you will see all of the plans that your employer allows you to participate in. And you can access them if you have already enrolled, or you can click the blue enroll button if you want to enroll. And then all of the navigation as far as setting up your contribution and your investment choice will be there in the navigation once you access the plan. If you are interested, I noticed in that poll question about 50% of you said, you know, I'm not quite sure if I'm participating in the right plan. If you are interested in sitting down with someone at URS to go over what we've talked about today, as well as the investment options that Michael Coakley is going to talk about on Thursday, the choices that you can pick inside the plans, I would encourage you to go to your URS login, and on the Education tab, actually I'm just going to click back one screen, you'll see that Education tab right there on the far right. That's where you would click. That's where our calendar for these individual sessions is posted, and you can find a time that would work for you to sit down individually with someone here at URS at our Salt Lake office, or we are also throughout the county, and you can find a day and time that works for you, and we'll spend an hour with you going over the investment plans that you have, what you may be saving, what choice you've picked, what choice, you know, if you haven't selected a choice, what choice you may want to consider. And you can come to these as often as you'd like. They're free. These are plans that you already have access to, so we just really want to make sure that you understand what your options are so that someday you can wake up and say, you know what, I think I'm done working, I've planned for retirement, I can retire, and I still have and I have these resources to meet my income needs in retirement because I've taken advantage of these plans. Remember that it's National Retirement Security Week, and so if you go to urs.org each day, there is a tip with some good information as you are planning for a secure retirement. And I hope that you have enjoyed our Fantastic Four Retirement Plan webinar today. And again, if you have any questions, we'll stay after to answer those questions here on the webinar, but we also have those individual sessions that you can sign up for as well. I will go ahead and turn the time back over to my coworker, Corey.
Thank you, Dawn. I appreciate this wonderful presentation. I thank you for your participation today in the Fantastic Four webinar. So now that you've been armed with this great knowledge, you can become your own saving superhero. And with that great knowledge comes power. And as Spider-Man's uncle said, with great power comes great responsibility. So I hope that you can rely on this knowledge to select a plan that's right for you to help ensure a prosperous retirement. A couple other quick notes. We will be sending you an email today with a link to a survey. Please fill out that survey. It helps us know how effective the presentation was and what we could do better. In addition, we'll have the webinar on our website. It has been recorded today, and we will have the webinar so you can review the information later on if you'd like at urs.org under the Education tab under the webinars. Also, we'll stay online, as Don noted, for a few minutes after. If you do have any additional questions, you can ask those and we'll get those answered for you. So if you have any questions, feel free to contact us. You can get our contact information on urs.org. Also, as Don noted, this week we're going to have some tips online. So thank you so much for attending today and have a wonderful day.